In today's video, I'm sharing the various obstacles people in wheelchairs face when going out. For everyday shopping, large malls are usually among the most accessible places. But when I got off the subway, I found that many areas only have escalators leading directly into the mall. So I had to exit the station, go up to ground level, and enter through the main door. However, when I reached the ground level, I found that the mall entrance was blocked by these stone pillars. My wheelchair couldn't get through, so I had no choice but to continue further and see if there was any accessible entrance for wheelchairs. What should have been a perfectly flat road was ruined by all these man-made obstacles. You can see my expression. I was totally speechless. After going all the way around, I still couldn't get in because of all the stone pillars. To prevent electric bikes and scooters from being parked in front of the mall, they set up these barriers everywhere. It's really thoughtless. I just wanted to shop, but I ended up going a huge circle around the mall and still couldn't get in. In the end, I had to come up with this solution. I moved my wheelchair over to one of the stone pillars and then had my friend carry the wheelchair over to me.
The vlogger explained that such frustrating barriers are far from isolated incidents. At another mall, they encountered the exact same problem. Fortunately, a staff member was present that day and temporarily moved a stone pillar so the wheelchair could pass. Even more concerning, the ramps marked as accessible were completely blocked. The only supposedly accessible route was a narrow gap between stone pillars, which forced them directly into the vehicle lane at the front of the parking lot.
This is the real accessible passage. Yeah, over here. I have to take a huge detour, and I'm on someone else's driveway. That's right, it's a car lane. I had to go all the way around, and this is what they call an accessible passage. And on top of all that, the cars behind me are honking, urging me to move faster.
After entering the mall, the vlogger offered suggestions at the service counter about improving accessible facilities. A few days later, upon returning, they discovered a new winding path between the stone pillars at the entrance. Unfortunately, the path remained extremely narrow. The vlogger emphasized that accessibility is not just for wheelchair users, it is a basic human right. They expressed sincere hope that one day, people in wheelchairs will find convenient and unobstructed routes everywhere they go, allowing more of them to participate fully in public life. While physical barriers such as steps and blocked passages create the primary travel anxiety for wheelchair users, for blind individuals, the real problem lies in obstructed or occupied tactile paving paths. Watch out, don't trip. What kind of stupid thing are they doing blocking the blind path? Are you getting a little frustrated? You need to step over here. The blind path is on your right. Got it. The street vendors are taking out the blind path. What do you hope the authorities will do about this? I hope they could do something about this problem. The reason blind people aren't walking here is because the whole blind path is blocked. It's not that they don't want to go out. It's because they're really scared. Honestly, I'm scared too. It's terrifying. You broke my white cane, and now you're calling me stupid? Your stick got stuck in my scooter wheel. I'm blind. Let me show you my disability certificate. Don't walk away. Give me my cane back, or I won't be able to get home. In December 2024, a national report on the progress of the rule of law in China featured a disturbing incident in Xi'an, Shanxi province. A blind man was walking along the tactile paving path when a delivery rider on an electric bike overtook him from behind. The bike's wheel struck the man's white cane, knocking it from his hand and causing the rider to fall. After getting up, the rider accused the blind man of deliberately extending the cane to trip him. The blind man explained that he could not see, but the rider refused to listen and attempted to leave. In distress, the blind man grabbed the rider and asked for his cane back. Bystanders recovered the cane, which was now damaged. The blind man continued to hold the rider and called the police. When officers arrived, the rider claimed the blind man had intentionally placed the cane in the wheel's path, yet he never acknowledged that he had been riding on the designated tactile paving. Visibly upset and in tears, the blind man told the police that this was the second time his cane had been damaged and that he can no longer get home alone. The video spread rapidly online, drawing widespread public attention. Many netizens voiced frustration, asking how society can truly claim to care for people with disabilities when their basic safety is so often ignored.
A few days ago, I saw a video that really pierced my heart. In the video, a blind person is out by himself, relying solely on the tactile paving to guide his way. But what's supposed to be a blind path is filled with electric bikes, random clutter, and stone pillars. With every step he takes, his cane hits an obstacle, and he cautiously apologizes each time. It's absurd and heartbreaking. He apologizes to bikes blocking the path, to the stone pillars obstructing his way, and to the poorly designed blind path. He apologizes for disturbing the world of sighted people simply by existing. But none of this is his fault. In fact, I came across this blogger's video 6 months ago, and that one made me even angrier. Back then, when walking on a blind path, his cane accidentally touched the wheel of a delivery rider's bike. He was scolded in front of everyone and even accused of pretending to be blind. He cried out of frustration, repeatedly pulling out his disability certificate and shouting, "I'm really blind, I can't see." Even when the police arrived to handle the situation, the onlookers coldly said, "Can't see and still out here selling flowers?" He choked up and replied, "I just wanted to make some money." Did he do anything wrong? He's trying his best to live, to be polite and respectful, to avoid bothering anyone. But around him, there's so much danger, malice, and misunderstanding. These aren't just physical obstacles on the road, they're the chasms in people's hearts.
During her 6-month exchange program in Taiwan, the vlogger said the experience that impressed her the most was not the height of Taipei 101, but seeing people in wheelchairs traveling independently across all cities. Whenever they boarded a bus, the driver would stop carefully, step out, and deploy a ramp from the rear door to assist them. The same patient and calm assistance occurred when they disembarked. No one stared or paid special attention. Everything felt completely natural. The passenger would quietly thank the driver, take their seat, and continue on their way. It was simply an ordinary moment of daily life, not special treatment, but genuine inclusion and the unspoken understanding that they just belong, just like everyone else. Setting up a barrier on this pedestrian crossing is the most ridiculous design. Look at those pushing strollers or sitting in wheelchairs. How are they supposed to get across? How are they supposed to cross the street? In April this year, a video emerged showing police in Yinchuan, Ningxia, installing U-shaped barriers directly across pedestrian crosswalks, effectively blocking strollers and wheelchairs. The footage revealed a long line of red, yellow, and white barriers placed in the middle of the crossing, forcing pedestrians to step over them. One woman was seen struggling to lift her stroller across the obstacle. Netizens reacted strongly, warning that people with poor eyesight could easily trip at night, especially in areas without streetlights. Many called the design dangerous and potentially deadly in fog or low visibility conditions. Others described the crosswalk as a hurdle course and condemned the barriers as a wasteful and reckless installation. Some commenters noted that the problem extends beyond Yinchuan. Similar barriers have existed for years in Zhejiang, Guangdong, with no clear record of when they were first placed. Incidents in which government projects ignore public convenience and create new obstacles continue to surface across mainland China. Common examples include advertisements placed in tactile paving, park benches enclosed by railings, and traffic cones positioned under overpasses. Sanpo South Road, we focus on the blind and leave a path for them. But what we see today at this bus stop is a public service ad that says, "Assist the disabled, walk together without obstacles, leave a path for the blind." The irony here is glaring. Look at this blind path. There's a garbage bin blocking it. Then there's a bus stop sign and the utility pole. In one widely shared video, a man points to a bus stop sign that completely obstructs the tactile paving path. The sign carries an advertisement reading, "Support people with disabilities, walk together without obstacles, leave a path for the blind." He calls the contradiction ironic. Beyond the sign itself, nearby trash bins and utility poles block the entire route, making it impossible for a blind person to pass. Such examples of local authorities ignoring public needs and prioritizing appearance over function remain common across China. An emphasis on high-profile projects and performance metrics often leads to impractical designs that continue to create hardships for ordinary citizens. Have you ever seen a blind path like this? In Guangzhou, there's a stretch of blind path that's built right at the edge of the road, and if you look, the edge beneath it is quite high. Isn't the blind path supposed to guide blind people safely? Is Guangzhou trying to direct blind people into a ditch? How did the construction pass inspection in this area? Is this a result of people working together in corruption? Do you have any professionals who can explain how this kind of road was built? Guangzhou, you should really take a look at how this passed the inspection. What do you think about this kind of urban construction? Some blind paths are built along the roadside and, while far from ideal, they at least do not pose an immediate life-threatening risk. In this video, however, one such path simply ends at the edge of a river. Instead of aiding people with disabilities, it creates a dangerous hazard that could cost lives. The video shows a tactile paving path along the Jialing River Promenade in Chongqing that ends abruptly at the water's edge, with no warning signs or protective barriers. A blind person following the path could easily step straight into the river. Released in September 2022, the footage quickly surpassed 5 million views and triggered intense discussion across social media and news outlets. Netizens condemned it as life-threatening blind path and demanded immediate repairs. In a system where the government holds exclusive authority over public management and cannot be chosen by citizens, people have no option to accept its decisions. Under the Chinese Communist Party's rule, policymakers often prioritize their own interests and rarely consider the needs or perspectives of ordinary citizens. Recently, Taiwanese singer Zheng Zihua posted on Weibo about his experience at Shenzhen Bao'an International Airport, describing the treatment of disabled passengers as inhumane. His complaint rapidly drew widespread attention and sparked heated debate. Zheng Zihua later released his own video to clarify that the issue was not a lack of assistance, but the deliberate actions of an elevator operator that left him, as a person with a disability, feeling deeply humiliated.
Hello, 大家好，我是郑智化。
Hello everyone, I'm Zheng Zihua. First, I want to thank all my friends who have supported me over the past days. You've endured a lot and worked hard. Because you supported me and listened to what I had to say, you faced a lot of online violence, bullying, and verbal insults. I'm truly sorry for that. I feel that for your sake, I must record this video and explain the entire situation in detail. Zheng explained that the young staff member pushing his wheelchair was eager to help, but the problem rested entirely with the operator controlling the boarding lift. When the lift reached the aircraft door, its platform sat about 25 centimeters too high, preventing the wheelchair from rolling on safely. Zheng asked the operator several times to raise it just slightly, a 2-second adjustment, but the operator refused. The operator replied dismissively, "Regulations require more than 20 centimeters of clearance. This meets the standard." Zheng countered that he had never encountered such a rule at major airports worldwide, including Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou, where staff always aligned the lift as closely as possible to the cabin door to ensure safe boarding for passengers with mobility impairments. Because of the excessive height and missing guardrails, Zheng was forced to pull himself aboard using his arms and cane in a highly dangerous maneuver. Any slip could have caused a serious fall. He emphasized that the equipment itself was excellent, the best he had seen, and the fault lay solely with the operator's indifference and refusal to make a simple adjustment. He concluded that the core issue was not whether he ultimately had to crawl aboard, but the operator's use of a questionable regulation as an excuse to create unnecessary difficulty and danger for a disabled passenger. Under CCP rule, even as the economy grows and education levels rise, vulnerable groups continue to receive minimal attention. An unelected government not only fails to provide adequate support for marginalized communities, but frequently neglects their basic needs, resulting in distinctive and persistent social hardships. By contrast, Japan, where more than 28% of the population is aged 65 or older, demonstrates exceptional care for people with disabilities, an approach that deeply impresses every visiting Chinese observer. Following the 1964 Tokyo Paralympics, Japan promptly enacted laws requiring accessible facilities in public buildings and transportation systems. Today, 85% of Tokyo's subway stations are equipped with ramps and low-floor carriages, and guide dogs travel free of charge. Let me show you the blind path set up in Japan. There are no electric bikes blocking the path, no trees in the way, and it doesn't lead you to a cliff or dead-end road. It's incredibly clean. You can see clearly how to walk straight ahead, how to get to the overpass on the left, and even at the intersection. They have a blind path. When the path widens, it tells you the blind path ends. This area also leads to the subway station, and the widening of the path marks the end of the blind path. There are no obstacles. It's really well done. After that, there's a new blind path as you enter the subway station, and the subway station also has a blind path. Seeing this kind of unblocked blind path setup is truly refreshing. It feels so smooth, and you just can't help but think, wow, it's such a big realization. The blind path is really meant to help blind and visually impaired people reach their destination, not just for show. Many believe this world does not belong only to the able-bodied. Throughout life, every person experiences periods of limited mobility. People with disabilities are not unnecessary. They have the same right as anyone to walk in the sunlight, board high-speed trains, wait at bus stops, and enjoy public parks. A society's true level of civilization is not measured solely by satellites in orbit or towering skyscrapers, but by whether every wheelchair can travel the streets safely and with dignity. Chinese travelers abroad are often struck by how frequently they see people with disabilities, including elderly individuals using mobility aids, moving freely in public spaces across Western countries. In China itself, however, people with disabilities are rarely visible on city streets. Few cities have properly maintained tactile paving, most subway stations lack platform-level elevators, and many shopping mall entrances are fitted with closely spaced stone pillars intended to stop shopping carts, but that also block wheelchairs. According to official figures, by 2022, China's disabled population stood at 85 million, more than 6% of the total population, a substantial minority that remains largely overlooked by both government and society. In fact, many disadvantaged groups in Chinese society arise directly from the Chinese Communist Party's poor governance. This includes owners of unfinished buildings, trafficked women and children, elderly parents who have lost their only child, people with disabilities, and the homeless. The party has not missed their voices. Instead, it has deliberately chosen to suppress them. In typical societies, a spirit of kindness and empathy exists towards people with disabilities. Even when governments lack the resources or capacity to provide full support, they encourage community groups, charities, and nonprofit organizations to step in with additional help. In China, however, the CCP government not only ignores long-standing vulnerable groups, but keeps creating new ones. It also hinders charity organizations and foreign aid agencies, while trying to conceal or erase the existence of these groups through media control. This reveals a core difference in the nature of societies and regimes, whether they lean towards goodness or corruption.